Hello, Capricorn. My name is Kristen Simone Hansen, and welcome to Secrets. I wanted to run to you. Hi, Capricorn. So it is the Aries Full Moon, and it is quite extensive for you because it is a representation of some very big new beginnings. Now, the thing is, those new beginnings don't necessarily come without a cost. So you are being shifted, per usual. You are being transformed and taken into new realities like you've been all throughout Pluto being in your sign, and especially the last year has been very trying for you. And when it comes to 2023, it is a 7 year. And the 7 year is a healing year. It's a year of healing. And healing is not always pretty. It is not always the easiest thing to do. And that's a part of the difficulty that many of you have been experiencing. But if you look at where it is that you were at the beginning of the year versus where it is that you are now, and you look at the character development that you've had, and the reason why I'm mentioning that is because after this full moon, which is happening right now, but next week is a time period where you are going to kind of feel as if though some of you may go through a feeling of all of this happened and I don't have anything to show for it. All of this, I went through all of these things and it feels like I'm starting from scratch. There's something in your life that may make you feel that way. And it's important for you to look at that moment and to understand that the transformation that you have gone through is on a deeply internal self level, that it wasn't necessarily about the external in terms of, but you guys are in your sign, you are Capricorns and you like things in the physical. You like life showing you a result that you can touch and feel. But a lot of the transformation, if not all of it, was about character development. It was about who you are as a person at your core, your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, your perspectives. Many of you had plans for yourselves that have completely been redirected, and here you are shifted in a reality that you didn't know was going to be there. However, if you look at the person that you are, you didn't think this is where it is that you wanted to be, but you are actually able to find more peace now than you've ever been able to find in the past. There is a level of harmony with the relationship you have with yourself, even if the outside world is a representation of something. Okay, sorry about that, the camera cut off. But even if the outside world doesn't necessarily harmonize with your internal world. So internally, not to repeat myself, but there's a certain level of self-comfort, self-love, self-clarity, harmony that you have that you did not have in the past. And that is where you need to be in terms of your confidence, in terms of looking at the silver lining, in terms of having gratitude, because that was the main point in terms of transforming you and healing you. The outside doesn't necessarily entirely reflect what it is that you want it to. So it can cause an imbalance and a lot of stress because now you're very aware of who you are and you want your external to represent the person that you are on the internal, which makes perfect sense. And now you're at a place where you're able to create that because now you're aware of it. But understand that this awareness is simply an awareness. I do not want you guys beating yourself up next week and saying to yourself, or during this full moon transit, and feeling discouraged or disappointed about the way the external is not reflecting the internal. You need to understand that the gratitude is in seeing who you have become on a character level and seeing that that has been where the work has been focused. And now you can actively and practically see that on the external. You're just not seeing it right now. So it's creating a bit of a contradiction, okay? But let's get into this. So big, huge, huge healing when it comes to this moon. Tears of release. Many of you are going to be crying. You're going to be feeling very emotional. There's a lot of emotional healing happening. Again, when it comes to healing, healing is not always pretty. So for some of you, it might be through losing something. It might be through something not coming into fruition the way that you wanted it to. It may be through a shift or a change in a way that you didn't see coming, but it's there to release you. It's there to let you go. Sometimes letting go of a goal or an idea that you wanted to see come through is exactly what it is that you need in order to find peace. So, is it important to have the external perfect, or is it more important to make sure that the internal makes sense? And that is why some of you have lost things that you've invested in, because, especially in terms of like familial relationships, structures that you built, um, jobs that you had. And a part of the reason why is because they were actually harming you more than helping you. But you were so hell-bent on holding on to them and building what this idea of what you thought success looked like and what success meant to you, that in fact you were burdening yourself. And I've been saying it all year, the universe is trying to help you burden yourself less. It's trying to take away all of those things that the ego identity built up in order to tell you that it needed it in order to find peace and harmony. So it's not an easy thing to experience as a human being, because it can show up in very unstable, very sad, very uncomfortable ways. Some of you could be dealing with apathy all throughout next week, feeling like you're not, or just general boredom, like you want something and there's nothing there. You're reaching for something and you're not being able to find it. You're not being able to touch it. And you as a Capricorn, you need to be able to touch and feel. And without that ability, it's like an emptiness and a confusion and a worry. It's like, well, I don't know how this is going to happen. I don't know what's next, or how this is going to be healed or fixed, right? Through that, the important thing is to revert back to the self and understand that you can give all of that energy, you can delegate it to the divine, in that sense of knowing what you can control versus what it is that you can't control. That has been a theme all year, okay? But most importantly, whatever it is that you're going through during this full moon is to heal you. So all of the eeriness that's on your mind could be visiting the past, thinking about shadow self, thinking about things that have hurt you, wounded you, people that have hurt you or wounded you. It's because you're healing and you're releasing and you're letting go. I would say, like I said, I'm going to put in the link to book a private reading. I'm going to do a sale for this full moon because it's not necessarily the easiest one to navigate. Okay, money secured. So that's another big thing as well. There's going to be some kind of security in your money sector next week, which is going to feel very good for many of you who have been going through financial strain or struggle. There's some kind of movement in the career. And throughout the month of October, it can also look unconventional to not only you, but to other people around you as well. You are leaving a lot behind. And in a way, you are leaving your old self behind completely and totally. There is financial increase and financial relief, as I was saying, and it is coming around this 2-week threshold. It can show up in terms of a client or a job, or again, a windfall, a grant, some kind of assistance, or you getting your money back from something that you've invested in the past. You're feeling wholeness. There's a sense of wholeness, but it can confuse you because on the external, it feels like you're so used to looking on the outside in order to feel balanced within the inside, and that's a part of what caused you all of your strain in the past, especially during the Pluto and Capricorn transit. Now that sense of wholeness is just within. It's just within. There's a peace, there's a solidness, there's a internal balance, especially because all year you guys have been going through so many emotional ups and downs, and now there's finally this sense of like, okay. And it's learning how to feel good in that, and that understanding that that in itself is abundance. To feel abundant in peace and harmony and self-love and your sense of self is priceless, really. Priceless and irreplaceable. And that is the work that the universe has been putting in on you all year. That is where your gratitude needs to be, okay? So you don't have any more tolerance for that which does not serve, that which is not making sense. Your tolerance level is decreasing. Some of you might feel a little bit on edge because it is an Aries full moon. Some of you might be ready to fight, blaring fists. There are people that might want to fight you. There's always somebody who's looking for a goat to headbutt because you guys have that intensity, and I've been reminding you guys of jealousy and envy. It's important to understand that much of what you go through is envy and jealousy, and to not internalize it. Know how to not fight fire with fire. If fire comes toward you during this full moon transit, make sure you match it with water, intelligence, and integrity. Know what battles to pick and what battles not to pick, because you don't have tolerance, right? So instead of saying, I don't have tolerance for this BS, so let me fight it off and let me put this person in their place, it's more like saying, I don't have tolerance for this BS altogether. So I don't need to fight you. I don't need to go toe-to-toe with you. I'm simply going to shut you all the way down. Like I always say, no matter how the wind howls, the mountain cannot bow. Okay? Wind howling, the mountain will not bow. Right? So you're tested emotionally, and it's going to cause a lot of emotional triggers. And through those emotional triggers, again, healing is coming from them, but going through the process in itself is not going to be easy, and it can be very trying and very difficult, but the end point is release. Because the moon is happening in your 4th house as well, there can be some competitiveness or difficulty arriving when it comes to things like home, family, culture, moving, neighbors, where you're living, where you're existing, different things like that that pertain to the 4th house. You can be aware of maybe sibling relationships that have some kind of rivalry. You can be aware of things wrapped around your sense of sensitivity and your sense of identity, your emotional body, and how, oddly enough, it can create some kind of disruption in how other people relate to you, feeling as if though they want some of that emotion or they want some of that compassion that you have, and that you are not giving enough of it to them. You're not giving enough of yourself to people anymore. Don't continue to keep these things to yourself and keep those walls intact, because what you guys are going to be finding during this transit are there are people that are going to be kind of reaching out and wanting to touch you. And that reaching out and wanting to touch you isn't necessarily the best thing. There are good connections that are being formed in order to help you in terms of your finances and moving forward, but there are other connections that are coming afoot that can just be people wanting to take some of that energy that you have, that healing, that balance that you've achieved within yourself, because they don't have it within themselves. Okay, so remember, chaos wants chaos, and sometimes a person that has the kind of self-contentment that you've now gained, especially because in the past you did not have that. So you're going to see a lot of that testing, especially with people that already knew you or have known you, or again, family, because it's 4th house, and stand your ground and stay firm within yourself. The wind will howl, okay? Do not bow. You're also going to be aware of how your relationships impact your career as well. So again, if there's any kind of difficulties in your family relationships or friendships or your romantic relationships, you're seeing how people in your life have stopped you from achieving your goals. The toxic relationships that you have that have stood in the way of you reaching your purpose and being who it is that you have always been meant to be, those things are going to be in your awareness at this point. And you're trying to think, how can I cut the fat to be a better leader, to be more cardinal in what it is that I do, to be more clear. Again, stripping yourself of the extra baggage, stripping yourself of the extra drama, stripping yourself of the extra bills, the extra obligations, the extra things that you don't need, that don't serve you. Your ideas about responsibility that have been weighing you down need to be shifted. And so it might show you some people that you cannot trust. It might show you some snakes in the grass so that you can mow that lawn of yours and make it so that they leave for good. So there's also aware of intergenerational karmas, especially because we're looking at the 4th house, and Aries is trying to burn through anything that, burn through the extra fat, basically. And you're aware of ideologies that no longer serve you. So how is it that your home and family dynamics have limited you in terms of who it is that you need to be in the world? And that frustration, again, tied to, it doesn't necessarily mean you may be fighting with your family directly. It could be simply fighting with curses that you've seen go on in your own narrative due to things, family dynamics that you've witnessed or generational dynamics that you've witnessed? How do you not repeat the cycle? How do you not continue the same story or the same tale over and over again? And you're feeling very frustrated and you're feeling on fire, like you want to burn the bridge, basically, burn it all, damn it all to hell, you know? Which is a good thing. So that fire is righteous rage in that sense because you want righteous change. We have Jupiter in the 5th, which is good for your love and sex life. But I would say be careful and know what's casual and what's serious. Many of you who are single are looking for a serious connection. So be aware that you are very attractive right now because you've gone through so much change in terms of who you are. Many of you are looking better, you're feeling better, you're giving off so much self-love that you're attracting so many people to you. But it's not to say that all of those people are the serious partners that you're looking for or the serious friendships or work relationships that you need. Vet people and understand what is permanent versus what is not permanent. And don't be afraid to have fun. Yeah, you're feeling your frustrations are tied around, again, family ideas, limitations, the limitations of the people in your life. And some of you, it's direct, as in it's a person that you can touch, see, and feel. And for others of you, it's ideologies and perspectives that are just long overdue, that have been standing in your way about who it is that you are and what it is that you wish to achieve for yourself. But the beautiful thing is you are very aware of who it is that you really are. And that is something that during this full moon, that awareness of self will be one of the greatest gifts that you're feeling. And that's a part of why this healing is able to happen the way that it is. So despite all these frustrations, despite all these limitations and these things that are happening around you, it's making you so aware of the shifts and the changes that you have gone through and the internal harmony in which you have. Because things just don't affect you the way that they used to. You can be dealing with strains when it comes to moving and the considerations of those bonds. So if you are living with family, it may possibly get tense in the home. It could be tense in terms of your neighborhood or your neighbors or your roommates. You can be feeling like you really want to leave the space in which you live. You can feel like people are closing in on you. You can feel as if though they're crossing your boundaries or crossing your limits. And it can make you really frustrated and make you want to leave where you are, and sooner than later. And a lot of that has to do with, again, the magnetism in which you are having and giving off. You have people that are interested in violating your boundaries. You have people that are trying to grab you, hold you, be closer to you than they should. So you can be dealing with situations, like I said, of people violating your boundaries. So they could be getting nosy, they could be involving themselves in your internal narrative when they shouldn't, trying to involve themselves in your decisions. Again, feelings of feeling limited by your environment, by your 4th house environment, your home environment. The magnetism in which you're holding at this time, you can be dealing with people who are trying to kind of hold on to you or hold you back, or a little bit of both. Either way, they're crossing a line with you, and you don't have any tolerance for it, and you want to see a shift in your movements because of it. Again, that's something that is beneficial because on the other side of it is great healing and a hyper awareness of what it is that's around you, what it is that's going on around you, and what it is that you can do about it. In terms of home as well, on a positive note, you can be wanting to decorate and change things, bring out who it is that you are. Again, that newfound sense of self wanting to come into full fruition. So how it is that you can make your home more reflective of who it is that you really are if you are not moving. And if you are moving, you want to be in a place where you feel like you can really stretch your limbs and be who it is that you really are, and not feel limited in any way by your environment or the people in your environment. It's important to weed out who serves you and who doesn't serve you. And with Sun in the 10th, and with the 4th house moving through your moon, there are big endings when it comes to, as I said, 4th house matters. So again, moving, changes in relationships, frustrations going on with where it is that you live, frustrations with neighbors, roommates, etc. And those endings are happening for your highest good. Outdated beliefs and conditionings are now leaving you for good, and they're fading away. So, like I said, that it all leads to things that are for the better, but in the moment it can be very frustrating, very overwhelming, and very triggering, because what it is that's happening is the harmony that you have with yourself, the contentment you have with yourself is kind of like you're being aware of the ways in which it pushes against your environment, and you're going to stretch your limbs by all means necessary, and you're not going to compromise on that. So this lack of tolerance is a very great thing. You have no desire to kind of be the noble seagoat who's being hyper responsible. You're just like, F that, F this person, F this situation. If it does not do what it is that I want it to do, or does not work in my favor the way I want it to, or if these people are violating my boundaries in any kind of way, you're ready for a fight, basically. And in terms of that fiery energy, I would just say to channel it the best way that you can, and understand that at the end of this dynamic is there's a beautiful end at the end of all of this change and healing through awareness. Okay, so I love you guys, and we are going to get into the reading. I'm getting a strong relationship energy with this one here, especially since the Two of Cups wanted to fall out at the end, and it kind of surprised me when I saw it. Let me make sure all the cards, you can see them. Yeah. All right, Capricorn, so let's get into this. So, in terms of your subject, we've got some fear of walking away, juggling with the Two of Pentacles. We've got a fight going on with the Five of Swords, and then that Two of Cups came out at the very end. Insane chemistry, passion, liking each other, having fun, etc. That, along with Tantra as the healing point, what is already with you, visions of life beyond death. And in the shadow, we've got the Fool, the Queen of Wands, and the Three of Pentacles. This is giving me a strong relationship energy. Not necessarily, for some of you it could be a romantic energy, but I think it's about relationships in general. There's something about connections and relationships in general. There's endings here happening. There are endings here that you are afraid of walking away from. So we've got the Eight of Cups there in reverse, but you're juggling a lot. There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of strain, there's a lot of difficulty. You're ready to put down those swords. You no longer want to fight. But there's union and there's connection afoot. What does it mean to have chemistry? What does it mean to connect? What does it mean to have bonds that work in your favor? You're afraid of starting new here with the Fool. Starting new, beginning new, moving forward, your confidence, and what does it mean to work with new people, to build new connections, to form new bonds. Your healing point here with being Tantra. Tantra in itself has a very complex meaning as a card in this deck. But for me as a reader, whenever I see it, it's all about union. It's all about bonding. It's a fire card for me, and it's the passion between two souls connecting together. And so again, that in combination with visions of life beyond death, there is movement when you let go. There is a new beginning afoot when you let go, when you allow yourself to transform and move beyond whatever connections are keeping you bound, because what it is that you need, you already have. It's already here, it's already with you, but you have to let go of this juggle, this fight, this fear, this bindedness, because at the end of the day, you're affecting your confidence and your ability to feel like you can begin new connections and new bonds that actually serve you and work for you, that work in your favor. What things are causing you more stress and strain versus what bonds would be more fluid, more natural, and organic? What is your chemistry? Who do you naturally connect with? And how do these relationships actually serve you? Through ending things, through allowing things to die, new things will be born. And you'll realize what it is that you have always had. That through the end, the ends are not really ends, they're just redirections. Be open to that which seems unfamiliar or different. You will experience a breakthrough as you embrace an unusual approach, okay? Visions of life beyond death. You will experience a breakthrough when you go through an unusual approach, especially in terms of unusual here with an Aquarian card. Taking the path that you have not traveled, beginning at zero. What does it mean to allow yourself to fall from this tree, to trust in the moon? It's the thing about this kind of Fool card that I think is very interesting. It's a fall from a tree in the middle of the night. It's the kind of new beginning that feels quite scary and intimidating, but it's going on a path that has never been walked and doing so with full confidence. You're afraid of these bonds and these connections that you've had and you formed in the past, but these new ways of existing, this new way of being is exactly what it is that you need to do in order to bring you where it is that you want to actually go. You are on a soul path of accelerated spiritual growth, which is swifter but not always easier, which has been happening with you all year. You do not have to contrive your own happiness, but you can dip into the bliss within your body to lighten your mental state and remind yourself everything is working out beautifully. So again, there's a lot going on with you emotionally. I'm happy to say that none of these are major arcanas per se, but there is a lot of conflict here. There's a lot of darkness going on in terms of the subject matter. What are you afraid to walk away from? What it is that you have going on is causing you a lot of juggle. It's causing you a lot of strife. It's causing you a lot of strain. There's a fight here and you feel like you have to fight. You have to protect yourself, but you're also just tired of fighting. You're tired of feeling bounded. You're tired of feeling bonded. You want to start new. You want to have the kind of connections delegation, the kind of connections that make you feel like you're not in this on your own. The kind of bonds, the kind of unions that feed your soul. Not being afraid to let go because you understand that what it is that you deserve, you already have. And so if it's already with you, then you can create the new bonds and the new connections that work for you. But it's through doing something different and doing it with passion, zest, life, vigor. But it's this fear of starting new and doing so with confidence. Because you don't know what's on the other side. You don't know who's on the other side. What works, what doesn't work. What can you anticipate? Nine of Swords with the Eight of Wands. With the Knight of Wands. So this is what it is that you can anticipate in terms of literal action, what it is that is taking place directly. So we've got this is the subject, as in this is what's running through the subconscious, conscious mind, the subject matter, but what it is that is literal and practical in the flesh is an experience that will feel like a nightmare. Where it is that your worries are and how it is that you need to get out of them. What actions that you will take in order to bring forth this new beginning, to step out of this space of the Nine of Wands. But there is a lot of worry, there's a lot of strife, there's a lot of stress. So there are things that are going to be coming up that are going to be causing you to feel, again, this feeling of juggling, this feeling of fighting, not knowing who to walk into, what not to walk into. There's a lot of worry, there's a lot of stress. But you're full of action. What steps will you take in order to bring them forward? So this is what you'll be running into. A situation that is worrying you, a situation that is stressing you out, and then trying to figure out the solution, how it is that you will get out of it and how it is that you will move forward. Visions of life beyond death. What is already with you? More than anything, it's disconnecting from the fight itself. Taking an unusual path and not being afraid of it. The possibilities are endless at that point when you know how to let go. It's not easy. None of this is easy, I would say. But it's not necessarily so heavy. It's more mental, it's more spiritual, emotional, stress, worry, fear, stress, worry, fear, stress, worry, fear. Stress, worry, fear. And the fears go along with it manifesting in reality. The manifestation of emotional stress, emotional worry, emotional pain, emotional strife. You're afraid of feeling negative feelings within itself, which makes sense because if you've been through so much at this point, emotionally, it can feel like the idea of even going through anything can cause more anxiety. Just the idea of thinking of anxiety can cause more anxiety. It's a lot of internal stuff. It's a lot of fear. But like I said, the healing point here comes with fire. Connection with fire. Connection with passion. Bringing forth new passions and new connections to get out of this space. Because what it is that you desire the most is already here, but it comes after letting go. That you have to face these fears of new beginnings, lack of confidence, and new connections, and the idea that the connections wouldn't work out. Because they will. A lot of deep breathing necessary here. A lot of deep breathing. I would say to tune in to the Instagram on Sunday, as I'm going to be doing a meditation for the full moon. And we'll see where things take us. But all of this is internal. That's probably the biggest pro, is the fact that all of this feels very internal. May pertain to other people, of course, right? But it's an inside job, as in how your emotions relate to other people, how you're feeling about other people, how they're affecting you. Doesn't make it any more easy, obviously, because there's a lot of nightmarish internal strife energy going on here. But the narrative is within your hands because it happens within you. But it's a rebirth that's taking place. Realizing what serves and what doesn't serve, who serves and what doesn't serve, and understand that you're abundant completely and totally on your own. Going back within the self in order to revalidate the self. Okay, so that is your reading. I love you. Ciao.